The sun beats down on the quiet streets, heavy with the usual hum of the neighborhood. The sound of children laughing and playing echoes in the distance, a stark contrast to the tension hanging in the air. Vendors call out to passers-by, selling fresh fruit, cheap jewelry, and knock-off designer bags. The smell of grilled meat drifts from the corner, mingling with the exhaust fumes of passing cars. But there's something darker beneath the lively exterior, a quiet, suffocating sense of unease. The recent police incidents in the city have put everyone on edge, and no one is quite sure when the next spark will fly. Marcus Washington, 28, walks briskly down the street, his steps measured. He's dressed in a plain t-shirt and jeans, his university degree tucked away in a pocket of his bag. His face is set in a calm, focused expression, but his eyes betray him. They're always scanning, always aware of the world around him. Marcus has never fully felt like he belongs here, in his own neighborhood. The son of the state's governor, he is both admired and resented by his community. The duality of his life often feels like a weight he can't shake off. As Marcus passes a convenience store, a figure steps into his path. Officer Kyle Davis, 30, clad in the uniform of the city police. Davis is tall, built like a linebacker, but his posture is rigid, as if the weight of his badge and his worldview are too much to bear comfortably. His eyes narrow as he sizes Marcus up, clearly skeptical of his presence here. Davis, stepping forward cold, "You got any ID on you?" Marcus stops, confused, irritated. "I'm just walking home, man. What's this about?" Davis, eyeing him. "You fit the description of a suspect. We had a robbery around here, and you match the description of the guy who did it." Marcus raises an eyebrow. Calm but tense. "No, I don't. I wasn't even in the store." Davis, stern, pressing further. "Doesn't matter. I need to see some ID." Now Marcus takes a slow breath, trying to remain composed, but there's a familiar sting in the pit of his stomach. The same sting he's felt so many times before when dealing with people who assume the worst about him because of the color of his skin. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out his ID, his fingers trembling just slightly. Marcus, slowly, biting back frustration. "There. You've got what you want." Davis takes the ID, his hand lingering a little too long on Marcus's. He looks down at it, then back at Marcus, sizing him up again. There's something in Davis's gaze, something judgmental, as though Marcus is guilty even without evidence. Davis, eyes narrowing. "Where do you live? What do you do?" Marcus, flatly. "I live around the corner. I work at a non-profit, helping people." Davis doesn't move. He doesn't seem convinced. Davis, narrowing his eyes, a tinge of suspicion. "Non-profit, huh? Funny. I've never seen you around here before. Marcusi live here, born and raised. Now, can I go?" A beat. Davis's grip on Marcus's ID tightens. The tension is thick in the air, the kind of unspoken pressure that can snap at any moment. Davis' voice rising, impatient. "I said I need to see your ID. You think you're special, huh? Just because you got a degree or whatever." Marcus steps back, his pulse quickening. The slight push of Davis's authority feels more personal than professional. The officer's bias is clear even if it's unconscious. Marcus, voice tight, controlled. "I don't think I'm special. I think I deserve respect." Davis's face hardens. Without warning, he shoves Marcus hard against the ground. The impact is jarring, and Marcus's body hits the rough pavement with a sickening thud. The crowd around them freezes, mostly black residents, all witnessing this ugly moment. Some mutter quietly, others hold their breath, but no one moves to intervene. The fear of retaliation is palpable in the air. Marcus lies on the ground for a moment, his vision blurry. Blood begins to pool around his cheek where he hit the pavement. For a split second, he feels the sting of humiliation, the weight of 1,000 similar moments where the system was against him, moments when he felt powerless. He clenches his jaw, fighting back tears and anger. Marcus struggling to his knees, voice shaking. "You have no right," Davis shouting. "Get up, don't make this harder." The bystanders look away, the tension in the air thick enough to suffocate them. No one wants to be next. Marcus's phone rings, breaking the silence. He digs into his pocket, his fingers slick with sweat. As he answers the call, he hears his mother's voice on the other end. Urgent, frantic. Mother Vio. On the phone, panicked. Marcus, you need to get home. The governor is about to make a major announcement on TV. Now. Marcus's heart stutters. In his chest. The chaos around him fades for a brief second, and all he can focus on is his mother's words. The weight of his family's name, the expectations, the pressure to keep up appearances. Marcus struggling to get his bearings, a pause before responding. I'm coming, Mom. Marcus pulls himself to his feet, still trembling, his hands shaking as he wipes the blood from his cheek. His gaze locks with Officer Davis's for a moment, a mixture of fury and resignation in his eyes. Marcus, softly, but with conviction. You don't get to do this. You don't get to ruin people's lives because of your fear. Davis stands there, his stance still rigid, his chest heaving in the aftermath of the confrontation. He doesn't know how to respond. Not to Marcus's anger, not to the truth that lingers in the air like smoke. Marcus turns, walking away, each step a heavy reminder of the world he's trying to change. The voices of the neighborhood, their whispers, their fear echo in his mind. His phone call with his mother hangs in the air, a reminder that he is more than just a man on the ground. He is a symbol, whether he wants to be or not. As he disappears, down the street the camera lingers on Officer Davis, still standing in place, lost in thought. The world has shifted, and he doesn't even realize it yet. Mother, V.O., on the phone, a little softer now. Marcus, you need to come home. Marcus doesn't look back. The room is dim, lit only by the glow of a single lamp. Marcus sits at the kitchen table, his hands gripping the edges, his breath shallow. His mind is a whirlwind of thoughts, each one crashing against the other. The incident with Officer Davis keeps replaying in his head like a nightmare he can't escape. He should be used to it by now, used to the prejudice, the unfairness, but tonight feels different. This moment feels like a breaking point. His phone rests next to him, the screen flashing with notifications, messages, news updates, social media posts. He stares at them but doesn't reach for it. He's too angry to look, too exhausted to engage. He's been numbing himself for years, burying his feelings, trying to be the better version of himself, the calm, collected man who doesn't let things get to him. But now he feels something cracking inside. The weight of everything. His identity, his family, his community, feels too heavy to carry any longer. Marcus softly to himself. How many times do I have to be the bigger man? He picks up his phone, scrolling through the messages from his mother. She's been texting him non-stop since the incident, but each message is a reminder of the divide between them, her political mind versus his raw, aching need for justice. Mother, text. Marcus, I need you to stay calm. Let the legal process play out. We'll get through this. He closes his eyes, his hands trembling as he sets the phone down. His mother's words are well-meaning, but they feel like an insult. She's more concerned with political strategy than with the trauma he's facing. Marcus, angry, whispering, let the legal process play out. For who? For them. He stands up abruptly, pacing across the small room, his mind racing through memories of childhood. He remembers being told to keep your head down by his mother, how she shielded him from the harsh realities of his blackness, from the world's refusal to see him as anything other than a stereotype. Marcus, speaking louder now, his voice cracking. She said, I had to keep my head down. But what happens when I'm tired of doing that? What happens when I'm sick of fighting battles no one else can see? His thoughts drift to his father, the governor, the man who built his career on appealing to both sides, always playing it safe, always choosing silence over action. His father, too, was more concerned about appearances than real change. The realization stings even deeper tonight. He's always been caught between two worlds, neither of which truly understood him. One world of privilege and power that could never shield him from the truth of his skin. And another world, the one he's supposed to belong to, that constantly reminds him he doesn't quite fit. Marcus, voice full of bitterness. They said it would be different because of who I am. They said my last name would make things easier. But it never did, never once. A knock at the door pulls him from his thoughts. He hesitates for a moment before walking over and opening it. Standing on the other side is his old friend, Jason, a passionate community organizer in his early 30s, who has been rallying people for change ever since the city's protests started. Jason, looking at Marcus, concern in his eyes. "You good, man? Everyone's been asking about you." Marcus steps aside, allowing Jason to enter. He slumps back into his chair, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Jason, ever the optimist, sits across from him. Marcus, sighing, voice hollow, "I don't know anymore, Jay. I don't know if I'm good." Jason leans forward, his expression serious. He knows Marcus's struggles. They go way back. He knows that this moment is bigger than just what happened with Officer Davis. "Jason, you've been carrying this your whole life, Marcus. It's just now the world is seeing what we've been living." Marcus looks down, swallowing hard. The weight of Jason's words hits him harder than he expected. The anger, the humiliation, it all starts to bubble up inside of him again. Marcus, voice shaking, barely holding it together. "I'm so tired, Jay. I'm tired of pretending. Tired of being the good black man. Tired of being the son of the governor, always walking the line, trying not to upset anyone." Jason reaches across the table, placing a hand on Marcus's arm, grounding him. "Jason," softly. "Marcus, your voice matters. You've been fighting this fight before anyone even noticed. But you can't keep pretending you don't feel this." Marcus looks up, eyes filled with tears. He wipes them away quickly, trying to regain some composure, but it's clear he's barely holding it together. "Marcus," quietly, "you don't understand. I've spent my whole life pretending to be someone else, to be everything my family needed me to be. I thought I could change things from the inside, you know. But look where that's gotten me. Look at what it's cost me." Jason leans back in his chair, nodding slowly. He knows Marcus's struggle, how the constant pressure to be someone else has broken him. He's seen it before. But what Marcus doesn't realize is that his true power lies in the very thing he's been trying to hide, his authenticity. Jason, gently, "Marcus, you've always been the change. It's not your last name, it's your voice. That's what the world needs. They need the truth." The words land on Marcus like a weight lifted from his chest. The truth. For the first time, he feels a flicker of something resembling peace, a sense of clarity. Maybe he doesn't have to walk the tightrope anymore. Maybe he can finally be himself. Marcus, whispering a realization. "I can't keep quiet. I can't." Jason smiles, nodding. "An agreement?" Jason, standing up, "Exactly. You've got a chance to make this count, Marcus. Don't waste it." The two share a look of mutual understanding. For a long time, Marcus thought he had to choose between family and community, between power and truth. But now, he knows he doesn't have to choose. The truth will always find its way out. Int Governor's office. Day the governor sits at his desk, reviewing documents, his face hard with concentration. His phone buzzes repeatedly with news updates about the incident involving Marcus and Officer Davis. He glances at it, then looks away. The room is full of polished wood and expensive furniture, a sharp contrast to the weight of the moment. The door opens, and Marcus walks in, his steps deliberate. He's not the same man who left his apartment earlier. There's a quiet fire in his eyes now, something different about him, something that can't be ignored. Marcus, softly but with conviction, "We need to talk." The governor looks up, his face faltering for the briefest moment, before he quickly masks it with a smile. "Governor, Marcus' son, I've been trying to reach you. We'll get through this, just trust the process." Marcus stands tall, his voice steady as he speaks. Marcus, voice firm, "The process is broken, Dad. The system is broken, and I'm not going to stay quiet anymore." The governor's smile falters for a moment, and Marcus can see the shift in him, the realization that this moment, this conversation, is different. Marcus, leaning in, "You want me to stay silent, to protect the family's image. But the truth is, the world is watching. They want justice, not a statement, and I'm not going to be the one who lets them down." The silence between them is thick. Marcus's words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of everything he's been holding back. It's not just a fight for justice anymore. It's a fight for his own soul, and this time he's not going to lose. Marcus stood before the crowd, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on him. The cameras flashed, capturing every tense second of the interview. His heart raced as the anchor fired questions at him, each one more pointed than the last. "Marcus, how do you feel about the officer's actions that night?" the anchor asked, a microphone thrust in his direction. "Do you think there's a chance for true accountability in this case?" For a moment Marcus hesitated. His throat was tight, and the anger that had been simmering beneath the surface for days threatened to explode. He glanced down, fingers clenched. "Into fists. I'm angry," Marcus finally said, his voice unsteady. "Not just at Officer Davis, but at a system that has been failing us for generations. For years we've been told to trust the process, trust the system. But all it does is protect the people who oppress us." The reporter's eyes widened. There was a flicker of surprise in his expression, but the questions kept coming, relentless. "But your father is the governor. You have power. Don't you think this situation could be handled behind closed doors, through political channels?" Marcus's jaw clenched, his heart pounding louder than his words. The name of his father, the governor, always lingered like a shadow over his every move. He had spent so many years trying to escape it, but now, with the pressure building, he could no longer stay silent. He took a breath, letting the words flow before he could stop them. "I am not my father," Marcus spat, his voice growing stronger. "I am not some politician who hides behind platitudes waiting for the storm to pass. I'm a black man who has been brutalized by this system, and so are so many others who have been silenced for too long." A hush fell over the crowd. The reporters exchanged glances, and the cameras seemed to zoom in closer. Marcus felt the rush of adrenaline, but beneath it was something far more potent. This was his moment. The moment he would no longer be defined by his last name. The moment he would reclaim his voice. "For years, I've lived in the shadow of my family's name. I've tried to please everyone, my mother, my father, the press, but no more." He paused, eyes burning with determination. "My family's name won't protect me from the violence that black people face every day. It won't protect me from the police who see me as a threat just because of the color of my skin." The words seemed to hang in the air. He had never said them out loud before, not like this. Now the truth is out there, and I'm not afraid to speak it. He looked directly at the camera. "I'm Marcus, I'm black, and I deserve justice just like everyone else." There was no turning back now. The shock in the reporter's eyes mirrored what Marcus felt inside. The world would never see him the same way again. Officer Davis sat in his small, dimly lit apartment, the TV blaring in the background. His hands were trembling as he scrolled through the footage of Marcus's interview, the words reverberating in his mind. "Police have been trained to see black men as threats." The words cut through him like a blade. He ran a hand through his hair, the weight of his uniform pressing down on him as though it were too heavy, too suffocating. For the first time, he wasn't just watching a protester, a nameless face in a crowd. He saw Marcus as a man with a story, a man with a family, a man with a pain that was so much deeper than anything he had ever understood. "What have I done?" Davis muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't just the words of Marcus, but the look in his eyes that unsettled him. The raw pain, the anger, the vulnerability. It all felt so familiar to Davis, but it also felt wrong. His upbringing had taught him to dismiss those feelings as anger, as defiance. But now in this moment he saw it for what it truly was. Fear. Fear of a system that had always dehumanized black people, and that fear had been passed on to him, to every officer, who had been taught to treat them like criminals before they even opened their mouths. Davis slammed the remote down, his mind racing. Could he change? Could he undo the years of bias, of unquestioned allegiance to a system that was flawed? The guilt was like a weight pressing on his chest, suffocating him. "I didn't mean to hurt him," Davis whispered, the words getting caught in his throat. He wasn't sure who he was trying to convince, Marcus, the world, or himself. Marcus's phone buzzed. It was his mother. "Marcus, we need to talk, now." The text was short, the tone sharp. His mother never did subtlety. He set the phone down, rubbing his face with his hands. The words his mother had spoken earlier still echoed in his mind. "This isn't the time to make waves, Marcus. Your father is doing everything he can to protect you. We don't need any more public drama." Protect me? He wasn't sure if he should be angry or if he should cry. His father was more concerned with his political image than his safety. His mother, too, caught up in the family legacy, in the system they had been working so hard to maintain. But not anymore. Marcus knew this was his fight now. Not his father's, not his mother's. His. That evening, Marcus walked into the governor's office. His father was sitting behind the massive desk, looking every inch the politician. Calm, measured, rehearsed. "Marcus," his father greeted, though there was a coolness in his tone. "I've seen the interview. You've made quite an impression." "I didn't do it for you," Marcus replied, his voice rising. "I did it because I'm tired of being silenced. I'm tired of being seen as an accessory to your career instead of a person." "How long, Dad? How long have I been nothing more than a pawn in your game?" His father leaned back, his fingers steepled together, his expression unreadable. "You're overreacting. This isn't the way to handle it. We've worked too hard to get where we are. You're jeopardizing everything." Marcus's eyes blazed with anger, the hurt and betrayal too much to contain. "I don't care about your legacy anymore. I care about what's happening to people who look like me, people who don't have the luxury of sitting behind a desk and pretending everything's fine." "Don't talk to me like that," his father snapped, the first sign of vulnerability showing. "I'm doing what I can, but we have to be strategic." "Strategic?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call it? Playing it safe while people like me suffer? While people like me are killed? No, Dad. I'm done playing your game. This is my fight now." His father stood, the mask of political calm slipping. "You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm protecting you from everything that's out there." Marcus's chest tightened, and for the first time, he could see his father not as the powerful politician, but as a man who had traded his soul for power. "No, Dad. You're protecting yourself, and I won't let you do it at the cost of my soul." With that, Marcus turned and walked out of the room, the door slamming behind him. The weight of the world had shifted. There was no going back now. His father might still be part of the system, but Marcus was no longer a part of his game. He was going to write his own story, and he wasn't going to be silenced any longer. The governor sat in his office, his face grim, the weight of the situation pressing on him from all sides. The press conference had been a disaster, and the public was demanding action. His phone had been ringing non-stop, the messages piling up, all calling for accountability. Real, concrete accountability. It was something he had promised for years but never delivered. Now Marcus had forced his hand. Outside his office, the protesters were still chanting, their voices rising in unity, calling for justice. They had made their demands clear, no more empty promises. And Marcus, his own son, had become the face of that movement. The very son he had tried so hard to protect from the harshness of the world. The governor pressed his fingers to his temples, feeling the weight of his choices. "How did it come to this?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. He couldn't ignore it any longer. He couldn't silence the voices of the people, nor could he continue to shelter his own son under the veil of political expediency. There was no way out of this, not anymore. With a deep, resigned breath, he stood and walked toward the podium set up for his statement. He knew this wouldn't be enough. It was just the first step. But it was a step he had to take, one he'd delayed for too long. Marcus stood at the front of the protest, watching the news unfold on his phone. His father's statement, cold and calculated, was being broadcast live. It was a typical political response, words that tried to sound firm, but lacked real substance. He clenched his fists, fighting the frustration rising inside him. This wasn't enough. It could never be enough. Still, the first step was taken. Officer Davis was placed on administrative leave while an investigation was launched. It was something. A small victory, maybe. But in a system that typically protected its own, it was a crack in the armor. And that crack would widen with every person who spoke out, every voice that refused to be silenced. A fellow protester, a woman named Carla, turned to him, her eyes fierce with determination. "We're not stopping, Marcus. This is just the beginning." Your words, they gave us power. They gave us hope." Marcus nodded, his heart still heavy, but starting to burn with something else now. Not anger, but purpose. "It's not over until we see real change," he said, his voice steady. "But we're going to make them listen. This system can't keep pretending it's working when it's not. We have to keep pushing until we break it." The crowd erupted into cheers, the unity in the air palpable. Marcus felt the strength of it, felt the power in numbers. But as the chant of justice echoed around him, he couldn't help but feel the growing distance between him and his family. His father's words might have been the beginning, but they weren't enough. Not yet. Back at the governor's mansion, his mother sat in the living room, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The weight of the past few days had worn on her, the conflict between her loyalty to her family and her love for her son, carving deep lines of worry across her face. She had always supported her husband, always stood by his side, even when the decisions were difficult, but this was different. She watched Marcus's interview again, her heart aching with each word. He was so full of pain, of frustration, of a fight that wasn't just for him but for everyone who had ever been silenced. "I don't know what to do anymore," she whispered to herself, her voice shaking. But as she looked at Marcus's face, on the screen something clicked. Her son was right. The fight for justice wasn't just about political games or keeping the family name clean. It was about truth. It was about doing what was right, even if it meant tearing apart everything they had built. She reached for her phone, her hands trembling. She typed, then deleted, then typed again. "I support you, Marcus. I see now what you're fighting for. I'm with you." In the days that followed, the nation's attention remained fixed on the governor's office. The investigation into Officer Davis was underway, but it was clear the system wasn't going to change overnight. However, Marcus's courage had sparked a movement that was quickly gaining momentum. His voice, once dismissed as the angry outbursts of a rebellious son, had now become a symbol of something far greater, a call for justice that no one could ignore. Marcus stood outside City Hall, watching as local activists and community leaders gathered around him. They were there to speak to the press, to make their demands heard, and he was there with them, no longer just as a victim of injustice, but as a leader in the fight for systemic reform. "We've come here today," a woman named Lena said, her voice strong, "not just to protest, but to demand change, real change. We need to see reform in our police force, we need to see accountability, and we need to see justice. We will not be silenced." The crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus stepped forward, his eyes scanning the crowd, feeling the unity, the hope that filled the air. He was part of something bigger now. This wasn't just about one man, one officer, or one family. This was about a community rising up, a city coming together to demand what was right. He spoke, his voice steady, clear, and unwavering. "This fight isn't over. The system that has protected people like Officer Davis has been broken for far too long. We are here today not just for justice for me, but for every single person who has been brutalized by a system that refuses to see their humanity. We won't stop until the truth is heard, until we get justice." As he spoke, the crowd rallied. Around him, their voices becoming one. Marcus knew that the road ahead would be long and the fight would not be easy, but he was no longer fighting alone. This was a movement, and it was gaining strength with every passing day. Later that evening, Marcus sat in his apartment, his phone buzzing with messages. He opened one from his mother. "I've been thinking about what you said. I don't always agree with everything, but I'm with you. I will support you and I will stand by you in this fight for justice." For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt a small sense of peace. His mother had come to understand, even if it had taken time, but the words that resonated the most were the ones that came from his father. The governor had released a new statement, a softer one. He hadn't fully embraced the reforms Marcus demanded, but it was clear he was beginning to change. His shift wasn't radical, but it was a start. "I'm not sure if this is enough," Marcus whispered to himself, staring at the message. "But it's something." He understood that the fight for justice was far from over, but as he lay back on his couch, he realized the seeds had been planted. The road ahead would be long, and there would be struggles along the way, But Marcus knew now, more than ever, that his voice had power. And with that power, he would continue to fight for the change he knew was possible. As the days passed, the governor's stance began to evolve. He still walked a careful political line, but his words became less dismissive, more considerate, of the very real struggles that Marcus had brought to light. His support was tepid, slow, but it was growing. For Marcus, it wasn't enough. But it was something. It was progress, and progress, no matter how small, was a victory. His journey had just begun, and though the road ahead was uncertain, he knew one thing for sure. He was no longer defined by his last name or his father's legacy. He was his own man now, his own voice, his own fight. And the world would hear him, whether they wanted to or not. The work was just beginning.